The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
Hey, good morning. This is Arlene.
Hi, this is Grace.
And together we are from Durian ASEAN. Together we will also be sharing with you news from all over Southeast Asia. So hi Grace, today is your first time doing the news commentary with me.
Yes, this is my first time.
Unfortunately, DJ Gauri today is unwell, so she is unable to come and do the news commentary with us. So to start off the news, I would probably want to start off with a news about our lives today. What did you do this weekend?
So over the weekend, I was pretty busy. Very busy. I thought I would be really relaxing, but I was really busy. On Saturday night, there was a concert called Good Vibe. Yes, I went over there. There were a few international acts from overseas, and then, but there was heavy rain. So few
it's been raining quite constantly.
Yes.
I also noticed it.
It was quite not a good scene in the concert because a lot of people had to just to avoid the rain, and a few performances were cancelled. But towards the end, all the performances were nice, and people were still supporting the whole event.
You should actually come later.
Actually went there quite late, but despite me being late, it was still raining. Yeah. It was a good show.
So I'm glad that you enjoy a good time during the weekend. For me, I did a few activism on the side during the weekend. There's this campaign called the Anti-Sexual Harassment campaign that I'm part of.
Yes.
It's a new initiative project that we are working under the project of Euro Asia Pacific. So in Malaysia, our focus is on sexual harassment. We believe is a core issue since we do not have a standalone bill on that particular issue. And interestingly, what we find out that a lot of people support our cause, even though they are, regardless whether they are man, woman, transgender.
There are a lot of people attending.
Yeah, there were a lot of people. The event that we were trying to promote the awareness was Arts for Grab. And I really enjoyed the time that it was actually at Petaling Jaya 1.
So what did they display in the event? What are the things that you saw?
Besides us, there were other NGO displaying their own courses and selling stuff. They are quite interesting as well. For our booth, we display a mannequin, and on the mannequin's shirt, you can paste or you can post whatever messages that you want to convey when it comes to sexual harassment. Either you want to share your your experience being sexually harassed, or you seen someone or you know someone who has been sexually harassed, or you have an opinion about it, like you disagree that we should have a law, you think that the current law is fine. So a lot of people have a lot of opinion, and I think when it comes to sexual harassment, a lot of people do not have a clear idea how to define it, and it's not easy to define. The reality is.
So is it like an annual event, or is it just the first time event they
This
held
is
it?
the event that is being organized by Arts for Grabs is, I think it's a quarterly event. Every 3 or 4 months they will have one. But when it comes to our project, this is the first time we are embarking on this project.
I see. Alright, so I guess it was pretty successful event.
I hope so, because the next stage we will have a few campaigns and writing position paper and all that. So I'm quite excited about it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great to hear.
And the first news of today that I think is equally busy, the person, is our Prime Minister, Najib.
Yes.
So what's the news today, Grace?
It says Malaysia's foreign policy is based on the principle, and then also supporting what's right and differing what's not right. Our Prime Minister said, based on this principle, Malaysia therefore did not really need to choose between the US and China. And also, he also said that he was asked who should Malaysia choose between US and China by one of the delegates at the Malaysian Students Leaders Summit 2014, organized by United Kingdom and then Higher Council of Malaysian Students here today.
So Grace, when it comes to Malaysia, I think our foreign policy is pretty clear. We do not side any of the bigger power either irregardless is the US or is China. We make deal, we trade with both of them, we make friends, we strengthen diplomatic relations with both of them, and we respect both of their foreign policy as well.
So this is a pretty fair statement that he has made for both US and China.
I think it's a pretty fair statement. I mean, considering Malaysia is not really a huge country, so I don't think we would make statements where we openly condemn people. I mean, either of the countries, China or the US. But what about South Korea?
We're also pretty fair when it comes to dealing with other countries. Try to respect the other principles and also to be able to accept the principles. But our country is pretty strong in terms of our own principles. So we try to deliver when it comes to delivery messages. There'll be more ups and downs. Yes, always. But then at the end of it, we always try to negotiate and then try to find a harmony between our country and the other countries as well.
But South Korea is pretty close with the US compared to China.
Yes, we are. Yes,
partly
and we get support from US as well.
And you have a US base.
Yes,
we have. South Korea.
Yeah, even in terms of army base as well.
Yeah. For Malaysia, we can't be too one-sided, too one-sided, partly because China is our neighbor. And when it comes to the US, we have formed long-term relationship with all the presidents of the US since probably Roosevelt and all that. So it's no big deal for us to choose sides. I don't think it's something that we should. And I think what I see the government is doing is definitely something that Malaysian public should agree and support. Yes. This is what he said. So why do we need to confront the US at the same time we have China? He said to The Independent. And he also said that Malaysia will be beholden to the US. For example, it would never deal with Alexander Borodai from the Ukraine separatist forces for the bodies of the MH17 victims to be taken out of the crash site in eastern Ukraine. If they are beholden to the US, he will not have visited Gaza, for example, or met with the leaders of Hamas. That is why he meant by the principle-based foreign policy at the same time a pragmatic one.
I see. I mean, you just mentioned shortly about MH17, and also it also leads to the story of MH370, right? I just read a news from CNN. It says Malaysian Airlines was in the big, sort of in the trouble before the train disaster of flights 370 and 317, and then they're getting a lot of questions because they hold a big responsibility in terms of the lives of 537 people. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I couldn't agree more, because when it comes to the issue of MH370, it has somehow tainted the reputation of Malaysia. But I'm proud of the way the government handled the MH17. It definitely showcased how the government have learned from the previous mistake.
Exactly.
And another thing that Najib has spoken is say that US has strengthened such as a big market, technology, innovation, some of the best education institutions in the world, and also superpower and a hyperpower. He also said that China is also an integral part of Asia, and it is the nation's largest trading partner with the US. $100 billion, or in Malaysian ringgit will be 320 billion ringgit in two-way trade, which Malaysia is pushing to 160 billion US dollar in 5 years. So it shows that regardless whether it's China or it's Malaysia, whether it's China or it's the US, I think we need both of them.
Yes, we need the support from them as well.
It is not easy if we make enemies with people that we shouldn't we shouldn't make enemies of. Another story, which is the next one, is a huge story that has dwindled into something that is a bit not so good news. It's about the Selangor Menteri Besar crisis.
I see. So what is it about?
So the Pakatan Rakyat Pakatan Keadilan Rakyat President Datuk Sri Wan Aziza said that she has what it takes to become the first female Menteri Besar of Selangor. I guess this is a small light within a dark area, because this shows that Aziza is willing to go ahead, to be the next Menteri Besar. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are doubting her. Could be because she's a female, could be because she's the wife of Anwar Ibrahim, could also be because she has no experience in dealing with any administrative stuff.
But she also said, I understand the difficulties in being a leader, as a female leader, and be it leading a new party since its formation 15 years ago, or as a leader of the family when Dr. Sari Anwar Ibrahim was imprisoned for 6 years. That's what she said. And also, she also added by saying that although she may not have the experience in governing or leading the state, she has all those criteria and skills to helm the position of this Menteri Besar.
What do you think of having a woman as Prime Minister?
Well, in Korea, we do have a lady president.
Oh, you have a lady president.
We had a long talk about having a female president in Korea, and it did happen.
How long was that when she was elected as the president of South Korea? A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I remember I read the news and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's our first time.
Yeah,
yes.
and throughout Southeast Asia, we have Megawati from Indonesia as the president at one point. I think women are as capable as men, and in the case of Menteri Besar, it is I would say a smaller task compared to the role of president or prime minister.
Yes.
So I believe she can hold the role as the Chief Minister of Selangor.
Yes, I can agree with that. But at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that a lot of people are still think a bit lower in terms of when it comes to female leader, because we have the physical challenges as well as emotional feelings. So people tend to stereotype between the male and the female when it comes to higher position and important position in certain community and society. But I believe she has learned and also experienced in this area, and she can she can also make people believe that she can lead this state.
I'm betting my trust on her, even though early on I was a bit doubting her because of the issue of nepotism. But at the same time, I feel that, I'm giving her a chance. We do not have a woman Menteri Besar, and we should give a chance for women to lead it the way. She also at the same time citing how, party members and delegates should not forget the foundation of Pakatan Rakyat, which is to uphold justice. And she cited example of the DAP Supremo Lim Kit Siang and Kapal Singh, how both of them managed to bounce back in the next general election and won it with a bigger majority than their counterpart did in the 1999 general elections. So in that sense, I think Pakatan Rakyat will move on to a better pasture.
Also by saying that in choosing a leader, we have to be clear of the criteria. That's what she said before. And also, of course, qualification, determination, and trust would be the main criteria. Sex, age, and looks are just merely excuses. So I hope, and we all hope, that she can be a great leader in this state in the future.
By the way, how is it like having a woman president the first time a couple of years ago?
We did have lots of doubts and also disagreement when it came to female leader in Korea. But it's been almost over a couple of years, and it's going quite well so far. And she's pretty intelligent and very wise and knowledgeable in terms of politics and every area. So she tried her best to gain our people's trust. Yeah, so I guess she's doing
especially
a good
I think
job.
countries like Asia regardless whether it's South Korea or Malaysia, we are a patriarchal society, meaning that we are not used to having women to lead the men or the rest of society.
Still, male is the dominant in this society.
For me, I really hope we have a woman prime minister one day. I got the opportunity to meet Hillary Clinton a couple of years back when she visited Malaysia. I got the opportunity because I won a Facebook contest.
That's great.
Organized by the U.S. Embassy.
Wow.
It was really ecstatic because I got the opportunity to ask questions to her.
Oh, that's great.
And one of the questions is about women
being a leader,
and the challenge of glass ceiling, meaning that no matter how good you are still considered second best when it comes to gender. The man should lead the way. And she shared a lot of stories about her struggle, how she tried to, push that aside and focus on what she's best at. And she's a very intelligent woman, very witty, very funny, but at the same time she knows what she's talking about.
Of course, she has
and
to.
I really admire her. Another politician that I really admire very much is a U.S. politician called Elizabeth Warren.
I see.
Yeah, she's I think she's a senator, and I really admire her, and I would definitely look up to her when it comes to politicians.
Yes.
And I hope Malaysia have more politicians.
Definitely. Yes.
Another news of today is not really a nice news.
Again.
It's about Philippines.
Yes.
So communist rebels raid 2 Philippine plantation in one day.
In southern Philippines, right?
Southern Philippines.
Oh, so what happened was, in southern Philippines, some of their most brazen attacks for months, also in the face of recent setbacks. That's what authorities said on Sunday. The attacks by the New People Army (NPA) in the Strait-Home island of Mindanao on Saturday caused extensive damage, but no one was killed. That's what officers added. So what's your opinion on this attack in the Philippines?
I think it has been long happening.
Yes.
When it comes to southern Philippines, they have been insurgency since throughout like couple of years back or a couple of decades back.
Yes.
Quite violent as well. The unrest in southern Philippines partly is because the differences between southern Philippines and the rest of the Philippines. When it comes to religion, both of them, one is Islam, another one is Catholic. When it comes to culture, both have totally, I wouldn't say that different, but you can see the differences.
So there are a lot of conflicts between this southern and the other areas.
And they have been, some of the insurgents have been seeking for independence from the Philippine government since quite some time ago, even though there has been peace treaty signed. I think it was last year. It's still happening. I mean, the New People's Army and other insurgency like Abu Sayyaf are still there.
We don't know how long it will last, the attacks and then the conflicts between these areas, but I really hope, and we also hope that we can find and also hear the good news from this side as soon as possible. Yes.
One thing I'm quite curious is communism is still widespread in southern Philippines. The New People's Army is actually a communist party of the Philippines, which has been waging an insurgency since 1969 that has left tens of thousands of people dead.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that sounds terrible.
They are also believed to have about 4,000 fighters. The figure is down from more than 26,000 in the 1980s, but they remain active, raiding rural businesses and isolated police and military outposts. What do you think of having such insurgency in a country? I know in South Korea, you have North Korea being annexed away, and now is another country.
That's also quite a long time story. Yes, we can also talk about it for the other topics, but just to cut short, yes, it's a long history between North Korea and South Korea, and all the people there, we hope to have a harmony between these countries, but we have become so different each other. So there are more conflicts. Yes,
it takes a long time to
it does
to be united again after probably half a century.
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
that's a long time.
It's really saddening to hear all the news and what North Korea does and what we do. But at the same time, the gap between South Korea and North Korea, it's getting larger. Yeah, even though no matter how hard we try to find a harmony between us.
Yes. Yeah, no matter how long it takes. When it comes to the Communist Party that is creating is waging an insurgency in southern Philippines, it is somehow justified in a way because the attack of the plantation it were in retaliation for the company's refusal to meet extortion's demand, as being said by the Mindanao Army, Major Christian Uy. So I would say, go for it, fight for your rights, especially when it comes to corporations' domination.
As long as you stand firm on your opinions and thoughts, yeah, it's worth fighting for.
But I think you shouldn't use guns to fight. Weapons. You should definitely use, arguments, intellectual ideas through democratic means.
Well, in terms of democratic principles, yes, we express our opinions and expressions, but just with the help of weapons, it always makes everything violent.
It is.
And so many
damages. Even with good intention.
Yeah, so many damages, and in terms of also our people's lives, it just takes away.
Another president that is promising democratic means to fix problems is Joko Widodo. He promises to fix his problem. And I think that is a very, very positive move of President-elect Joko Widodo, which is Indonesia's up-and-coming president in October later on. He has vowed tough law enforcement to fix the recurring haze problem, making it clear that the local authority know who's the culprit are.
And also, he also added by saying that for me, it's not a complicated problem. It's only a matter of managing the people and how we communicate with them. The haze is caused by both by the people and also the companies. If we have good, tough law enforcement, then it can be solved.
Damn, I wish he's a president in Malaysia rather than in Indonesia. I mean, since when in Malaysia we actually have such a sound prime minister or president when it comes to fixing the issue of whatever, especially when it comes to haze.
Yes.
Countries that has been faced by haze is not just Indonesia, it's Malaysia and Singapore.
The surrounding areas.
The surrounding areas.
Also affected. And for how long has it been going on, the haze problem in Malaysia?
The first time it was also the worst time was in 1997. I was still a primary school kid.
Small young girl. Yes.
Yeah. But when it comes to the haze problem now, it's happening much more frequent. In the past, it's probably once a year or twice a year. Now it's like once every couple of months. Since January until now, every 2 months there will be probably one haze
and
issue.
Also that leads to a few health problems as well, right?
It is.
Yes.
One of it is coughing.
Yes, definitely.
Profusely.
Yeah, and then sore throats and also blocked noses as well. Yeah.
And it will decrease your productivity since you will get unwell, and you can't focus at work, and you have to stay indoor all the time.
Yes.
You cannot do all your favorite activities outdoor. That's not easy.
Yes. And also this smoke from Indonesian forest fires sometimes causing pollutions in Singapore and also we mentioned in Malaysia to reach unhealthy levels in terms of coughing and the sore throat, and it has been one of the more frustrating aspect of relations between the city-state and its giant neighbor. Yeah.
Joko Widodo says that he will act definitely in terms of his issue, but how different his approach it to his predecessor, he declined to comment on the progress made so far. And when it comes to the what he said is, when we have the power, we must use the power to solve the problem, not only his, but also other problems. I'm sure that the government of the Bupati, they know what the problem comes from.
For example, also they're working on it.
Yeah. For example, whether it's the district or that district, they know. I'm sure they know. That's what was being spoken by Joko Widodo.
All right.
And because of that, I think I look forward for Jokowi to somehow push forward.
I would love to see the furthest progress as well.
To clear the issue of haze. For example, Singapore's parliament has passed the Transboundary Haze Pollution Bill to go after companies fingered for causing haze pollution. Another country that I think is doing the right thing. Of course, Singapore, they are always very efficient when it comes to the law. When it comes to Malaysia, I haven't heard anything yet.
I don't think I haven't as well. But by all those neighboring countries that trying their best to resolve this problem, I also hope that Malaysia can come up with something to work with them as well.
Last news of today is about UN reports increase in boat people fleeing Myanmar and Bangladesh.
Yes, a new UN report points to a sharp increase in the number of boat people, mostly from Myanmar, also known as Burma, and Bangladesh. Activities fear a further surge of refugee boat people, especially ethnic Rohingya, fleeing squarely camps on the persecution in Myanmar.
Activists fear a further surge of refugee boat people, especially ethnic Rohingya, fleeing the squalid refugee. If you look around Malaysia, you can see a lot of refugees from Rohingya begging on the streets. It is very obvious. And the report also stated that the UN High Commission for Refugees said from June 2013 to June 2014, more than 53,000 people have fled the area.
Yes, that's pretty big figure.
Or an increase of 60% of the 60% of the previous years. Seems like the issues in Myanmar and Bangladesh is not going anywhere positive, and it's impacting its neighboring countries like Thailand, Malaysia, because a lot of refugees are fleeing to this country, and I think the government is not really happy about it, including the people.
Yeah, exactly. And more than 20,000 boat people fled in the first 6 months of this year, headed towards the Malaysia-Thailand border or on the Indonesian and Australia.
To refuse refugee is not the right thing. The right thing that the government should do is to make sure that ASEAN is looking the matter of the Rohingya seriously and not just simply give lip service. What the government of Malaysia currently is doing is nothing when it comes to on the ASEAN level, and I think ASEAN should be an important regional body in terms of regulating the peace building of each of the countries.
I'm also learning as a me from the South Korea, learning when government handles this serious matter. Yes, so I think this has been a quite pretty confidential and also serious topic when people hear people fleeing from Myanmar and also Bangladesh to other countries.
With that, we have to end our news today. Thanks, Grace, for being with me.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
It was really nice
sharing news,
discussing news with you. Yes. We will continue our next session with another discussion with Yasmin Ras on the Eco Film Fest.